Hello again, it's Gareth, M5KVK. As you can see, I've made some pretty good progress with the QCX kit now. Managed to get some concentrated time to try and get as much done as possible. Unfortunately, I'm going to be away for the weekend from now on, so I'm not going to be able to finish it off. But I've got to the stage where I'm ready now to install the LCD and put all the chips in, and we should be ready to test. No major hiccups, I don't think, while I was building this. It all went according to plan. It does warn you in the instruction that this toroid is a bit of an interesting one to do. And there is just one tip that I'll share with you that I use when I'm winding toroids, because the easiest thing to do when you're winding toroids is to lose track of how many turns you've done. So I've developed my own little trick for doing that, which is that I just note down. I'll just bring that across so you can see. This was the crib sheet that I used when I was winding the 38 turns that were needed to go on to the primary winding of the secondary 3 winding on the transformer. So that's 38 turns that's required. And what I do is I take off, get it down to a multiple of 5, so 3. And then I wind them in groups of 5, and I make a note each time, because doing 5 is not too bad. That's fairly easy and not really going to lose track. And then when I got to 3, I wrote it down. When I got to 8, I wrote it down. When I got to 13, I wrote it down. And that also provided a natural point if I wanted to take a break. I didn't actually, and I used that technique for all of the toroids that I was doing, so that they were the right sort of size. I'm lucky enough also with winding the toroids. Let me just swing that out the way, and hopefully you'll be able to, this will be in focus. I'm lucky enough to have an LC meter, which was a club project we had at the Shefford Club some years ago. And so as I was doing the toroids, I measured them before I put them in circuit, and in several cases, I don't think every case, but certainly with that one, I know it didn't have the number of turns that it said. It does warn you. Obviously, toroids vary, your technique varies, and I needed a couple of fewer turns on there, and I think on these ones as well. They weren't quite the same. One of them was okay, and the other two, I think, when I measured them, they weren't quite right. So I adjusted them before I put them in circuit, and obviously, we'll see what it's like. It does make the point about making sure that you've cleaned off the insulation from the enamel, and I do it with a soldering iron. I couldn't find it, I used to have a little solder pot that I'd made up, which was an old soldering iron, one of the old ones with a big copper bit in the end, and I drilled that copper bit out so that it had a cylindrical hole in the end of the bit, and I then used to fill that up with solder, and then I could just dip the ends of the leads into that, and it would clean them, and that's how we used to do it when I used to do this professionally at work many years ago. That we had solder pots that were designed to do that, and it was fairly easy to do that. I had an old I think it was a 25-watt soldering iron, an old Weller soldering iron, but it was one of the ones that had the proper copper bits rather than the plated bits that we use these days. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to do anything over the weekend. As I say, I'll hopefully be back beginning of next week sometime, and who knows, I may have something that works. So I'll see you then. Cheers now.